Hello and welcome to the Oregon Motivation Center. I am Blaine Lambert, and today we'll be talking about a presentation version of my book, The Museum of the Mind. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and a mindset coach. I work with hypnosis to help people get the change they want in their life. Hypnosis is a form of meditation. It is one in which you go from the beta brain state of 13 to 30 hertz down to the theta brain state of 3 to 7 hertz. In that state, you imagine experiences that are so real that your brain reacts to them as if they are real, and then builds real change and real behaviors based on that. This session is for educational purposes. Do not participate while driving or operating machinery. If you choose to take part, you acknowledge that you're responsible for your own well-being and participation. If you have any medical or psychological concerns, please consult a licensed healthcare professional, of which I am not. Hypnosis is not magic, some sort of a spell. If you do not choose to participate, it will not have an effect on you any more than a normal conversation would have on you. Direct your mind, set your intentions, and reach your goals with the Oregon Motivation Center. Audio. Nope, it's still there. Alright, take a deep breath, get comfortable. I'm going to begin the presentation. Since no one really watches this, I'll also be eating. If you do happen to go back in the time and see this one, yeah, it's just how it is. Okay. Everyone is unique. There is no one prescription that will apply to all people in all situations. And that's true of hypnosis too. There's not one method or technique that will work for everybody all the time for every issue. So, slide 1, Museum of the Mind. Title of the speaker notes. Let's go to that. Welcome, participants. I'm going to welcome participants, introduce the Museum of the Mind as a metaphor for guided inner transformation, and set the tone. It's by understanding how hypnosis works as a natural function of the mind, which is kind of what I just did. But Museum of the Mind is a specific method of guided imagery that allows you to more easily communicate with your non-conscious parts of you. So, key points. Understand the nature of consciousness in hypnotic states. Explore how imagination creates real change. Learn the role of the non-conscious mind and set the stage for building the Museum of the Mind in your mind. Much like language, there is not a naturally existing museum inside of your mind, but we can build one through language. Every person carries an inner world of memory, imagination, and potential. Hypnosis lets us visit and reshape that world consciously. The Museum of the Mind is both a metaphor and a method. In this way, we emphasize that the museum is a structured way to explore the self. It's an approach that helps clients visualize, understand, and transform their inner experience. What hypnosis really is. It's not control or surrender. It's communication with deeper systems. It's a dialogue between the conscious and non-conscious patterns. And the goal is to align emotions and behavior with intention. So this is meant to demystify hypnosis. It mentions the difference between entertainment hypnosis and therapeutics. I guess I'll need to add that in there. So, I'll add that in later. And I encourage encourage anyone who's watching to share this live, invite more friends, and ask any questions you want to about hypnosis, or hypnotherapy, or meditation, or museum of the mind, or whatever else. So in the process of museum of the mind, you become the curator, imagining your mind as a museum of beliefs, memories, and emotions, where each exhibit is a piece of your life story. And in hypnosis, you become the curator, choosing what to restore, update, or remove. So this encourages reflection and how viewing inner life as art shifts from judgment to curiosity. And that is good to be able to make and have change. So in the next section, probably, next 2 sections, we'll be exploring the 4 foundational brain states, the beta, alpha, theta, delta. We'll learn the non-conscious mind's language and practice communicating through imagery and sensation, and apply this knowledge to design change experiences. So, consciousness as a foundation. Hypnosis is a natural rhythm of the mind. We enter trance states daily, daydreaming, when listening to music, when focusing. And like I said, consciousness flows between the 4 states, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. The beta brain state is 13 to 30 hertz. The alpha brain state is 8 to 12 hertz. The theta brain state is 4 to 7 hertz. And delta is 0.5 to 3 hertz. Alpha is the daydreamy, relaxed state, and theta is just before you fall into sleep. That's the theta state. The states blend together like a color gradient. So like you suddenly know, oh, I switched states. They're pretty seamless. It's a gradient. And hypnosis is a way of guiding the natural descent from beta to theta with intention and not accidentally falling down to delta, where you just go to sleep. So it's a waking dream that you enter into. And it's meditation with purpose. Stillness plus direction. So meditation is a way of focusing your mind, and hypnosis is a specific way of doing that. It involves generally another person that guides you into the state, helps you build the content while you're there, and then you can exit out comfortably. You cannot be tricked into hypnosis. You cannot be made to stay in hypnosis. You can't be made to do anything you want. You can't be made to do anything that you don't want to do in hypnosis, because it's just like a dream. When you realize something is wrong, you wake up and then you're wide awake. Hypnosis is not magic. It is simply a way of meditating. Imagination as reality. The body responds to imagined experiences as if they are real. An example is imagining a lemon, triggering salivating or sourness. So just take a deep breath, imagine taking a bite out of a lemon, or even just tasting a little bit of lemon, and how sour that is. Hypnosis uses the same mechanism for change, but in a deeper, more involved way. It's like emotional rehearsing. In the theta state, which is a waking dream in our case, you are able, the nervous system can't tell the difference between the imagined experience from if it was a real experience, but you have control over all the levers and gauges for your emotions and your mind and your behavior. So you can practice having all the behaviors you want to have. The mind as a building. So, we can kind of skip this one, but maybe we'll go over it. So in here I just have the mind as a building. The top floor is beta, the second floor is alpha, the second to top floor, the third top floor is theta, and the bottom floor is delta. Delta is sleeping, theta is, in our case, is right before dreaming. It's a very deep state of rest before you go into sleep. Alpha is daydreaming, creative reflection, and the beta state's the normal busy state. And In fact, you're all probably in the normal beta state right now as you're listening to this and taking information. Feel free to like and subscribe or whatever people say nowadays. Why theta matters. Theta is the state. The theta state is the waking dream zone. It's where imagination and sensation merge. Deep change happens here because the non-conscious mind is able to interact and listen and grow through that. The non-conscious mind as a collaborator, not unconscious. It's active, learning, responsive. So I don't particularly like using the term not unconscious. I prefer the term non-conscious because it's just the non-conscious processes that happen in your mind, and also it's not a person. It's processes that happen outside your control. Hypnosis in this way helps create dialogue, not domination. The non-conscious minds of you handle habits, emotions, and patterns automatically, and it's all about shifting away from those automatic patterns you used to have to the automatic patterns that you want to have so you can reach your goals. Hypnosis as collaboration. The hypnotist guides, but the non-conscious mind leads. The client's imagination supplies the imagery and meaning for the different art exhibits in the Museum of the Mind. And the change that happens is a co-authored experience. From awareness to application, conscious awareness, direction. So it's the awareness and the direction. The non-conscious is the implementation portion. Summarizing dual function. The conscious mind chooses the what, but the non-conscious chooses the how. Building the Museum of the Mind. That'll happen next. All right. What do I want to do? That. So my induction. I do a hypnosis induction. It works incredibly well. It's really amazing, actually. It's just the best. The purpose of the induction. It creates an atmosphere of permission and focus, moves awareness from the beta to the theta state gently, and the pre-talk is a huge part of the induction process. Having the correct expectation makes things very simple. Hypnosis feels like going to sleep and not going all the way to sleep. So you stop just before you get to the sleep part. Hypnosis is not mind control. It's just entering into a state of a waking dream. It's a form of meditation. It allows you to live imagined experiences extremely vividly. If anyone tries to get you to do anything you don't want to do, you will just simply wake yourself up because you're still conscious. Not sleeping. No one can make you do anything that you would not normally be made to do with normal language or conversation. Alright, so that's kind of what the pre-talk is in hypnosis. And you obviously want to have a goal for your session, which you usually will have. The person or yourself, you have a goal in mind. Whether it's stress relief or weight loss or quitting smoking or getting better at a sports thing. Whatever it is. You pick your goal before you start doing stuff. Questions? If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. So, my process of induction it has certain key points: focusing of attention, progressive relaxation, and deepening. There's a 10-to-1 descent of progressive relaxation. Each number is paired with relaxation imagery, and what kind of imagery it is alternates between even and odd numbers. This builds predictability and trust. If you've properly done a pre-talk, this will be pretty easy to transition into. The pre-talk is a part of the induction. There are certain things to talk about, like fractionation and emergence. Fractionation is when you bring someone out of a trance and put them back into a trance. This helps to deepen the trance state. Emergence from a hypnotic state just puts you back towards that beta state, maybe even alpha sometimes, but usually up into beta. That's just how people exit out of a trance. And a trance is just a word we use for this specific method of meditating. So, key takeaways. Simplicity and rapport matter more than technique. Induction is a conversation, not a command, and the goal is calm, focused curiosity. Each session is an interactive art installation. It's conscious intention plus non-conscious imagination. And the goal is to make transformation feel inevitable. There are 3 phases to every session: orientation, immersion, and integration. Orientation is all about safety and intention. Immersion is the experience and the symbolic action. And the integration is the return and the stabilization of the changes that have been made. So that'll be all about the interior galleries and the entry hall and returning from the museum. So we'll go through all that as we move through this talk. 5 design principles for a session is simplicity, 1 theme per session. Keep it simple. 2, symbolic richness. The more use of metaphor and sensory detail, the more involved in that waking dream the person can be. And safety. You always want to make sure the person feels safe. If they don't feel safe, they will pop out of the state and reject the experience. So they have to be on board with everything that happens. Autonomy. You can't convince someone to do something they don't want to do, so they try to be on board with doing whatever it is you're trying to do. And integration. They have to take the changes you're making and actually put them into their real life. There are certain language tools you can use from NLP. Things like pacing and leading, embedded commands, sensory loaded verbs, and strategic pauses. I'm going to pause for a second while the dryer goes off. Alright, there we go. So there are language tools from NLP. Pacing and leading, embedded commands, sensory loaded verbs, and strategic pauses. Pacing and leading is when you say some things that are obviously real, and then you say things that are not obviously real in order to make them real. Embedded commands is when you have words that you emphasize in your sentence, so it has more of it embeds itself more heavily in your non-conscious mind. Sensory loaded verbs are just words that are rich in they're semantically dense words. And it's always good to pause sometimes and emphasize certain things at certain times and in certain ways. So hypnosis is collaboration plus design plus safety. Change is experienced as beauty, not as argument, and when change feels like art, resistance disappears. Museum of the Mind. From understanding to exploration, we now move on from theory to practice. That should change that. Doesn't really make sense. We now move on to theory. And practice? Yeah, a little bit of both, really. The museum is a symbolic structure for the guided inner work that you're going to be doing. Each room, each art exhibit, each installation represents a function of yourself, of your mind, of your behaviors or emotions. And the goal is to transform awareness through guided imagery. So, the purpose of the museum is a framework for self-exploration and transformation. It combines structure with creative freedom. It encourages safe dialogue between the conscious and non-conscious parts of your mind. Why use this metaphor? Number one, organization. It gives form to abstract experiences. Number two, distance. It allows observation without feeling overwhelmed. And three, aesthetic reframe. It invites curiosity instead of judgment. It makes it a more involved process. How the museum appears. Each mind creates its own architecture. It's completely unique for everyone. Styles vary wildly. Sometimes it can be a marble hall, a forest. Sometimes it varies in every way possible. And the function matters more than the appearance. And these things are always under the client's control in one way or another because their mind is creating it. So the main ones I like to go over and create are these 6. The entry hall, the gallery of life, the vault of the mind, the timeline wing, the perspective hall, and the chamber of transformation. And we'll go over all of those individually coming up. And of course, again, safety and control. Clients may adjust lighting, open and close doors at will. Lock doors equal not yet, they do not equal failure. Curiosity and respect to the non-conscious mind of things that is ready and is not ready to deal with are key. This process is co-creative and paced by the client's non-conscious mind. So, we have the entry hall. The purpose of the entry hall is to transition from that outer world before you were going into trance to that inner world where we're building the museum of the mind. So you have the museum, you go into the entry hall. There are no exhibits here, just it's a nice entryway. It establishes your orientation and your intention. It's a symbol of choice and safety, so it's a safe point. Here you arrive, you decide why you've come and what you seek. You stand at the threshold where outer noises fade, and then you invite the client to visualize their own hall, encourage them to identify the purpose for the session, which you already should have done that, so already should be done. Go. Anchoring the hall. So the entry hall needs to become the grounding symbol, so you can return to it with instant stability. So if you ever get overwhelmed or not feeling well, you'll just whoosh, zip back to the entry hall. Entry and exit mirror each other to complete the sessions. So you begin by entering into the entry hall and then going to whatever exhibit you want to. Then you go back to the entry hall and then you exit the museum. This helps to create a loop that you then close. Alright, so now we have the gallery of life. The purpose of the gallery is it displays memories and patterns as artwork. It encourages observation without judgment and it turns criticism into curiosity. This is a very fun one to do. Everyone has their own ideas of what a piece of art is, and obviously you can't know someone. So you have someone go in, you have them see the exhibit and look at it, and you can either proceed without having to have them tell you what it is like, or you can have them tell you mid-session. So what you do is say, okay, you're sitting there, you are in the gallery of life, you're looking at this art installation, and you can comfortably and easily tell me what you're experiencing and seeing. And then they will be able to do that, especially if you pre-frame in your pre-talk that they will be able to talk while in trance. You can talk while you're sleeping. You can talk while you're in trance because you're in a waking dream. Much the same principle. This room is for witnessing the self, not for analyzing. It's a place of change and growth. And then you can observe the symbolic representations, whether it's painting or sculptures or whatever kind of art installation your brain thinks of. This allows you to also maintain emotional distance and safety from it and engage the restoration acts. Maybe you clean it, maybe you just replace it with a different art piece that represents what you want more naturally. With the structures of the mind, obviously these things are all metaphorical. So being able to replace one metaphor with another is perfectly fine. Guided language examples would be like, notice what draws your attention. You take steps closer, or you can take steps closer or view from afar. What does this piece want you to know? The art piece may even be able to talk and just explain what you're feeling. You can restore, relocate, or create whole new exhibits and allow that understanding to spread throughout the gallery, and you return to the entry hall for closure. And then part 2. We have the Vault of the Mind. The function of the vault, this is an archive for beliefs and long-term memories. Place of order and protection. Our goal is to access and update the beliefs or other things we have inside of the vault. So you enter in safely. There's a door, you open it up, and as long as it opens, you're allowed to go in there. If there's resistance, then the non-conscious mind might not be ready to explore whatever's in there. The vault will reveal what is needed and what's ready to be worked on. And if it isn't, then that's something to work on also. In the Vault of the Mind, you can observe labels and update emotional tags. Like an example would be finding an experience you had, or an emotion, or a memory, and it's labeled danger, and you work to make it say lesson learned. Obviously, I'm not going too in-depth on what exactly this technique is because it varies for every single individual. So you have to kind of have feedback with them, or a loop. In the future, I will be doing live participation sessions. People can request up, and then we can walk through the process together. So if someone makes the changes they want to, there is containment and closure. So we put our changes in there. They're now in the vault. We close up the vault, and that is the Vault of the Mind. And then there is the Timeline Wing. The purpose of the Timeline Wing. This is corridors linking the past and the present. It reveals how emotions connect events, enables reframing integration across time. Presents time as a network of emotions, not a line. Memories are alive in the now. Exploring the corridor. One side is the past, one side is the future, or the present, depending on how you look at it. And you observe moments as scenes, and you step towards memories safely, observing without reliving. There is a dual timeline exercise you can do as well. So in this, you locate the relevant event, and you go back in time to where that event happened. You observe the original path that the person went on from a distance, the way that things went, and how they turned out. And then you imagine a different pathway, a pathway where they had a different choice and the outcome was different. And you want to step into that version of reality and have those experiences. That way you can overwrite the old experience. Not erase it, you still know that the old one was the real one, but remove the emotional charge of the old experience. So in this way, you can also have yourself, you can create an avatar of your past self and have a conversation with them and change how they feel about it as well. So you exchange compassion and wisdom, and then after you're done helping them heal, you merge them into yourself. So the key lessons of the timeline are: time is a gallery of experiences, it's not a prison. Healing moves in all directions, and you are the author of your story. And obviously you go back to the entry hall, and then you're ready to go to the next place, the perspective hall. This is a rehearsal room for the future. Emotional familiarity makes changes feel natural. Clients pre-live new versions of themselves. The non-conscious mind acts on what feels familiar. By emotionally rehearsing desired outcomes, we teach the mind that success and calm are safe, expected states. So, to the design of the hall. Maybe it's spacious, light-filled, often with mirrors or statues of the self. Each figure a possible future or desired trait. We want the perspective hall to invite the imagining of better futures. So, clarify the goal state. What experience do you want to have, and how do you want it to go? And then you create that timeline, and you step into it, and you experience yourself in the future having those behaviors and emotions that you want to have. And this is how you practice the change that you want to have. The non-conscious resists unknown experiences. It sticks to familiar experiences. So the rehearsal builds familiarity and allows for a feeling of safety. You can replace "can I" with "I remember how to do this." The brain acts from what is expected, not what it hopes. The perspective hall makes the future real. Emotionally rehearsed states become default responses. Familiar equals achievement. The Chamber of Transformation. So the purpose of the chamber is the culmination of the change journey, symbolic space where old patterns dissolve, and the integration of learning from all rooms. This may be circular or cocoon-like, it may be light color, and the sounds that represent renewal, and it's transformation through acceptance. The butterfly metaphor. The caterpillar does not learn to fly, it reforms. Change requires letting go of the old structure and embracing the new structure before flight can happen. Transformation is integration in motion. Allow what no longer serves you to melt away. Sense new energy assembling from within. You emerge renewed and whole. So, remember, use slow, rhythmic phrasing. Silence is a part of the art. Like and subscribe. Integration after transformation. Always ground the client after peak imagery. Anchor the new state with a symbol, maybe a color or a gesture, like putting your first finger and your thumb together and saying a word. And return to the entry hall before ending. This is just whenever creating your own spaces. So, what if none of those ideas work for your client? Well, you can create their own space. Museum is a template. Everything so far is a template. It's not a limit. Clients can add rooms for personal needs. Encourage their ownership of the inner landscape. Maybe they have a garden of peace. Maybe they have a forge of will. Maybe they have a sanctum of rest. Maybe they have a hall of echoes. These are just a few ideas. The Garden of Peace is a place of self-compassion, growth. The Forge of Will is where you forge motivation and discipline in whatever task you're looking for. The Sanctum of Rest is a place of sleep and recovery, the Hall of Echoes communication and relationships. So, the design principles are every room has purpose, every symbol has personal meaning. You have to make sure that they are feeling safe and in control for when you change to actually take place. And, of course, exit through the entry hall to help close the loop. Simplify the process into steps. Breathe, enter, explore, return. This is for self-hypnosis. Short daily visits help to reinforce neural pathways. And if you journal after a session, that even more helps enhance the integration. The museum evolves as the mind does. Each visit reveals something new. You're both the curator and the art. So the museum is the metaphor. Hypnosis is practical when applied to real goals, and clients learn to navigate their mind intentionally. So, the structure of a goal. Goals should be emotional, sensory, and specific. I want to feel light, calm, and capable when I wake up. I want to easily find myself calm and relaxed so I can go to sleep quickly. I want to feel warm and welcome when going to a big presentation, whatever it is. In this way, you help to align the conscious and non-conscious parts of yourself. So the conscious mind says what I want, and the non-conscious says what feels safe, and your goal setting is to negotiate between both of those. So demonstrate with examples. The client may want to relax, but then unconscious equates vigilance with safety. So to figure out a way to renegotiate that experience. So emotional calibration is important. The body is the emotional calibration. So you do want to make sure that they are experiencing the things that you want them to experience. So clear goals plus feeling safe in the new behaviors helps to create a receptive, non-conscious mind. Let's see. Next part. Memory as living experience. Memory is reconstructed, not replayed. Emotions update the meaning of memory, and hypnosis allows safe revision, not deletion of memories. It just helps you get through the emotions that have been plaguing you. It helps you observe, reframe, and integrate those new emotional differences. Often very symbolic, such as with Museum of the Mind. Healing is an integration of feeling and meaning. Hypnosis reframes the nervous system's predictions, and past emotions find peace through repeated stories. Conditioning and repetition. Repetition is learning. Every thought rehearsed becomes a habit. Hypnosis accelerates learning by focused repetition. Small changes repeated equal big shifts over time. Neuroplasticity stuff. But you already know all about that. Conditioning cycles. Trigger, response, reward. Hypnosis edits either the trigger or the reward. You replace the old cycles with new desired behavior. You want to build positive patterns. Equal the new behavior with a simpler gesture. This is a great way to bring it into the future. Like I said before, you can do a finger and your thumb. That works pretty well for a lot of people. And you can reinforce this association during self-hypnosis. Obviously, any habit that you want to form is usually about 21 days of doing it before it becomes more automatic. Hypnosis does help increase this, but doesn't guarantee that you won't need that time. Awareness, experience, transformation, return is a cycle of integration. So grounding technique for waking up. You can count up from 1 to 10. Yeah, you can do breath exercises. Every breath is helping me to relax more and more. Physical grounding, movements or stretching can help with grounding. Reaffirming your time and the environment. I'm sitting in this chair, I'm talking. It is whatever time it is, so on and so forth. I'm holding a pen, I'm reading from a paper. And obviously at the end of each session, you want to do a debrief. What stood out to you? What kind of experiences did you have? What was each art piece like? And validate all experiences as being useful, even if they don't think it was themselves. Assign self-reflection or journaling if you feel like that would help also. Long-term integration. Encourage clients to revisit the museum spaces independently. There's spontaneous shifts in daily life. Integration equals embodied understanding, not just conscious memory. Takeaway. Closure solidifies the emotional blueprint. Integration happens between sessions, and the goal is independence, not dependency. Remember, habits are what you repeat. So, now we're at the end of our journey. Leaving the museum. You entered as an observer, you leave as a curator. The museum is within you. Transformation continues with each visit. Exiting is the end of the experience. It integrates inner insight with outer action. The museum becomes daily mindfulness. Remember to express gratitude to the non-conscious mind for its cooperation. Affirm the wisdom of the mind and live with curiosity and respect. The rooms are all metaphors for reflection. Anchor imagery for stress relief and creativity. And adapt for coaching, therapy, or personal practices. Final takeaway. The mind's not a mystery to control, but a museum to explore. Hypnosis is the art of designing meaningful experiences, and direct your mind to set your intentions and reach your goals. Let's see. Also go to the end here and read this part. So if you've reached this final section, I want to thank you, sincerely, for walking through this museum with me. Every idea, every exercise, every moment of reflection was written with one hope, that you would come to know your own mind more deeply and learn to meet it with curiosity rather than control. Hypnosis at its heart is a conversation, not only between the conscious and the non-conscious, but between people who share the desire to grow, to understand, and to live with greater peace. By reading, you've joined that conversation, and I'm profoundly grateful. I would love to hear how these ideas and exercises have shaped your experiences, the ways you've explored your own museum, what surprised you, and what has changed for you. If you feel inspired, please share your reflections, insights, or stories with me. You can reach me through the Oregon Motivation Center at the email address oregonmotivationcenter@gmail.com or through the website oregonmotivationcenter.com. Your experiences not only continue this dialogue, but help me understand how this work lives beyond the pages, or beyond this life, or beyond whatever else you see it on. Each mind built its own version of the museum, and every story adds to the collective architecture of understanding. Thank you for your attention, your openness, and your willingness to explore. May your museum always be full of light, wonder, and peace, until our paths cross again, in session, in story, or in imagination. I wish you deep rest, gentle change, and the courage to keep listening to yourself. Warmly, Blaine Lambert, founder of the Oregon Motivation Center. Thank you for visiting the Museum of